My stepfather started putting video cameras in my room and slipping a voice recorder into my purse. When I told my mom about it, she said I was making it up and that I shouldn't even look in my stepfather's direction. My name is Mary, and I recently turned 18. My father died before I turned 6, so I barely remember him. After his death, my mom didn't grieve for long, and strange men were a common sight in our house. Some stayed longer than others, but they were always replaced eventually. When I turned 16, Jason entered our lives. My mom adored him. She would pamper him endlessly, bringing him breakfast in bed, cleaning up after him. She practically worshipped him. God forbid Jason didn't like his dinner, it would be a catastrophe. Meanwhile, my mom completely neglected me. She didn't care about my school, who I hung out with, or even if I stayed out late. One day, Jason decided to play the role of my father. He tried to control me. The funniest part was when he attempted to quiz me on math, even though he was terrible at it himself. Once, I stayed late at a friend's house and came home around 9 p.m. As I opened the front door, I heard some stupid music playing and sounds coming from the bedroom. I think it's clear what those sounds were. I slammed the door loudly, hoping they'd notice. No reaction. I coughed loudly. Still nothing. It felt like they even sped up. I couldn't take it anymore, so I pretended to have a loud phone conversation with my friend. Only then did everything stop and the music turned off. A minute later, Jason ran out in his robe and, deciding that the best defense is a good offense, started yelling at me. His complaint was that I came home late and needed to be punished. I don't know what goes through men's heads when they're interrupted like that, but this was too much. I silently took off my coat despite his yelling and went to my room. Seeing I wasn't reacting, he grabbed my arm. I broke free, but then I lost it. I screamed like I'd never screamed before. Who did he think he was? My father? My mom rushed out at the sound of my screams. One look at her and I could tell her hair was a mess, one I poorly made up or with smeared mascara. Everything was clear. Naturally, she took Jason's side. Let me remind you, she hadn't cared about me for 16 years, but suddenly she decided to start parenting. Too late, Mom. Instead of putting me in my place, they sparked a serious argument where I let out everything I thought about Jason and her parade of men. That night marked the beginning of it all. After the confrontation, I retreated to my room, locked the door, and vented to my friend. Thank God I have friends who support me. The next morning, I came down for breakfast. I should have been surprised that no one had made me breakfast, but I understood. Mom decided to teach me a lesson. No big deal, I had some pocket money and could grab something on my way to school, I thought, and went to take a morning shower instead of having coffee. Coming out of the shower, I saw Jason exiting my room, trying to close the door quietly. But then he saw me. I immediately asked what the hell he was doing in my room. He replied that he was just looking for me to apologize for the previous night. I pretended to believe him. But when I entered my room, I noticed that he had been rummaging through my stuff. In my clothing drawer, no less. Gross. I quickly changed, trying not to think about the morning incident, and left. When I got home, I saw Jason and my mom having an intense discussion. Without saying a word, I went straight to my room because I was still upset. As I was going upstairs, I heard my mom shout something like, "You're back? Aren't you going to apologize for yesterday?" What? Why should I apologize? They should be apologizing to me for their disgusting behavior. I shouted back, "No," and went to my room. I had a feeling someone had been in my room again. My things were out of place, though they tried to make it look like they hadn't been touched. I immediately thought of the morning with Jason. What was he doing in my room? As I lay there scrolling through my phone, I noticed something strange on top of the wardrobe. It was blinking, which caught my eye. I quickly got up to check it out. It was hidden under clothes, cleverly camouflaged, but the blinking light gave it away. It was a video camera. A very small one. So, that's what Jason was doing in my room this morning. He was setting up this camera. I turned it over in my hands, but couldn't figure out how to remove the memory card. I had never seen a camera like this. It was so small and didn't have any buttons. I decided this was too much. Holding the camera, I went downstairs to confront Jason and my mom. When I asked why Jason installed a camera in my room, he just shrugged. He started to deny it, claiming he had never seen the camera before and wondering why I assumed it was his. I looked at my mom and told her about seeing Jason sneaking out of my room that morning. Jason immediately began to defend himself, repeating the same story he told me. He said he went to my room to apologize for last night, that he was so ashamed, and so on. I was sure my mom would take my side, but she suddenly took Jason's. "Stop making things up." That was her reaction to finding out that her daughter's stepdad had installed a camera in her room. I realized that anything else I said would only make things worse. I could have mentioned that my clothes had been rummaged through, but my mom would just say I was imagining things. I was fuming. I went back to my room and decided I would order a separate lock for my door, one that only I had the key to. That night, I barely slept. The next few days were relatively calm. There were no major incidents, and family relations started to improve a bit. But I didn't trust Jason. I knew this was just the calm before the storm. By the way, I did change the lock on my door. It made me feel safer. But one day, I noticed scratches on the lock, as if someone had tried to pick it. Well, of course. Who else could it be? One evening, while Mom was out shopping for groceries, I approached Jason and told him that if he tried to enter my room again, I would call the police, and I already had evidence against him. I was bluffing at that moment. I had nothing on him, but I saw that my words had an effect. Though he tried to hide it, I noticed he was scared. The next day, as I was getting ready to hang out and have fun with my friends, I couldn't help but notice that Jason, who had been trying so hard to play the dad role lately, was now sitting quietly, not saying a word. Scared, I thought. But that wasn't quite the case. In the midst of the fun, I spilled orange juice on myself, and I had wet wipes in my bag. When I started searching for them, I stumbled upon something strange stuck to the inner wall of my bag. If I hadn't been looking so thoroughly for those wipes, which I apparently left at home, I would never have noticed this thing. When I picked it up, I couldn't figure out what it was for a long time. It was completely black and smooth. There were no buttons or blinking lights. "That's a recorder," my friend's boyfriend laughed. He said his dad sells various radio gadgets at his store and had recently shown him this recorder. So, in addition to installing a hidden camera in my room, my stepdad had also planted a recorder in my bag. I suspect he did this to potentially capture my conversations with my friends, hoping I'd reveal my evidence against him. What a creep. When I got home, I threw the recorder in his face and told him this was the last straw, and I would call the police if he didn't leave the house immediately. Mom ran out from the kitchen when she heard me yelling. Seeing me yelling at Jason again, she didn't listen to anything and took me by the arm, leading me outside where Jason couldn't hear us. I'll quote her words, "If you go near my Jason again, if you say one more bad word about him, I'll make your life a living hell just like you've made mine." That's how my mom reacted to the situation. I made her life a living hell? Was I to blame for Dad's death? Was I the one bringing new men home every month? Was it my man installing hidden cameras and planting recorders in women's bags? When I went back inside, I saw Jason giving me a nasty smile while Mom's back was turned. Without much thought, I packed my things and went to stay at my friend's house. A month later, Mom texted me one word, "Sorry." That evening, she came to my friend's house to talk. It turned out Jason had been cheating on her multiple times with a coworker. She accidentally saw them kissing at a traffic light in Mom's car. After that, she replayed everything I had told her and found an identical recorder in her bag. After that, she kicked him out of the house and made him promise to repay all the money she had spent on him. Otherwise, she would go to the police. After that conversation, I forgave Mom, and we went home together. By the way, after this situation, our relationship became very close, and we started understanding each other without words. Mom stopped bringing strange men around. She said that after Jason, she was done with that. It's been 2 years since that situation, and we still recalled that time with a shiver. Each in our own way, but it was the most disgusting time for both of us.